Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. This week we welcome the living legend Michael Monroe of Hanoi Rocks and Demolition 23, along with his stellar solo career. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, I got to say this is an absolute honor to speak with someone as influential as you and as I call a legend in this industry. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. Nice to hear. Appreciate it.
Now, you've had a busy year so far with I Live Too Fast to Die Young, your new solo album, which is absolutely spectacular.
Thank you.
Now, I Live Too Fast to Die Young, let's talk about that. No one would know through this video that you're 60 years old, but...
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear. Yeah. I think this album turned out real good. It was actually better than I expected. We had a lot of songs written last summer. We had about 34 to choose from. And we did some pre-production and went through all of it. It was a long process, but I'm glad we ended up with the 11 that's on the album. It's a good entirety. Really, this record, we went into a new studio and a new engineer we hadn't worked with before, and I just took a conscious risk, and it was worth it. It paid off. We really renewed the band's sound and production-wise, arrangement-wise, song-wise. There's a lot of variety, a lot of dynamics, and the overall sound is, I think, it's more pleasant to listen to. It's not like everything on 11 all the time. So, really happy with the record.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different styles of music that come out through this. I mean, there's new wave sounding songs, there's hard rock, there's punk rock sounding songs, there's beautiful ballads on it. When you come to creating and formulating and putting together an album, is it just you're picking the best songs to put together, or is it you're consciously building a story throughout the album?
Yeah, it's both. Picking the best songs and then the entirety, so everything flows well together. It's also very important to have the whole entirety work, how it all works together, and then there's the beginning and the end. when I settled to the final track listing, and I looked at the titles, and I realized that "Murder the Summer of Love" was the first song, and then second to last song is "I Live Too Fast to Die Young." The last song is "Dearly Departed." So there's death theme that appeared in a positive way. Anyway, so that's a sign, and now it's everything's now there's a beginning at the end. It's in place, you know.
No, I mean, and that that whole theme throughout the album of, you know, death, whether it's good or bad, or trying to cope with that. I mean, you end with "Dearly Departed," which is a very special song,
Yeah.
and has very special meaning to it. And having "I Live Too Fast to Die Young" before that, it almost seems like you're taking your own mortality into something that you had, you know, a great loss in your life. There was that a conscious effort to tie those two together?
Well, that's the way it ended up when it came to that point and the songs were chosen. I figured that those two were put together. I mean, yeah, that had something to do with the choice.
Now you got one of your great friends to do a nice solo on "I Live Too Fast to Die Young." I mean, how did that come together?
Oh, Slash, yeah. It came together when I thought about having him play because he actually hasn't played on the past four albums, so it's the fifth one with the new current band. So we were all pretty close to finishing the album, and I decided to call him and I sent him an email, sent a song to him, and said, "Want to play solo? It's going to be a title track of a new album." And he was really busy. I had an album coming out and going on the road and going on the press, but he says, "When do you need it by?" I said, "Well, like now." But if you don't have the time, I understand. And then 2 days we had the solo, so it's like sweetheart, heart of gold. It's really really cool. And a great solo too. I loved it. So off the cuff, sounds like really spontaneous, not like sort of perfectly every note in place. It's a good rock and roll solo. It's a statement in itself. Uh, right.
How do you feel about finding a whole new audience to your music from, you know, things like there's the Peacemaker comic book show on HBO Max that, you know, pushes Hanoi Rocks, and then there was also a moment in the Netflix series that, you know, movie The Dirt, with everything that happened with, you know, your great friend Razzle, and it's bringing a younger audience to who you guys were. I mean, the unsung heroes of hard rock in the 80s. I mean, what are your feelings about how this has brought a whole new audience to what you've done in life?
Well, that kind of happens by itself. The Peacemaker was a nice surprise. They're really one of, one of the coolest ways to be praised and acknowledged as a significant band. And I'm connected with James Gunn now. With keep in touch, and yeah, I think it's really cool. I didn't expect anything like that. It's one of the biggest studios in the world, right? So drama, I think it's great. It's not unplanned for, and I didn't expect anything like that. But it doesn't hurt. It all helps to expand our fame in the world, and make people more aware of this. Michael Monroe and Hanoi Rocks, and that's great.
Yeah, and you've been creating music for, I mean, you're 60 years old, and it doesn't seem like you're going to stop, or never stopped at all. I mean, what was the longest period that you just had nothing to do with music? What was the longest period of your life?
That's kind of hard to say. Probably maybe a day or two. It's always there. Music's always there. So I can't say I've been without music for a long period of time. It's part of my life, and it's not because of work. It's because I like it. You know.
How did music become a big part of your life? Do you have, like, when you were a child, what, you know, music you heard that completely turned you around to want to be a part of music?
Well, it was classical music. my family, I, I had my grandfather was a cello player in symphony orchestra professionally, and his father also professional musician, played oboe in uh, symphony orchestra, classical music. And I grew up on classical music. My mother made me take piano lessons when I was about 5. And then when I was 8 years old, I saw Black Sabbath on TV, live in Paris, 1970. And I, got into rock and roll. Wow, what's this? I found out about the Rolling Stones and Little Richard. And then my father used to buy some records, rock records. So I guess he just went to the record store and asked what the kids listened to those days. So he got us like Led Zeppelin 2, second Led Zeppelin album, and Alice Cooper, Mother to Death. Me and my two older brothers, and Creedence Clearwater Revival, Pendulum album, and Deep Purple, Fireball, and, Black Sabbath, of course, became one of my favorites. And Alice Cooper, Mother to Death, that blew my mind. That record, whole image of the band, and Alice, so that's how I got into rock music and then into blues, Little Walter, harmonica, self-taught harmonica player, and, funk, reggae, all kinds of music. And I think in Finland, when I was a young kid, they had they didn't have these genres. There was no like heavy metal or grunge and all these different categories. They just, I think they had in the record shops, they had all types. They had a little bit of everything, which is great. With more variety. At the time, I'm open to all different types of music. Rock and roll is, of course, closest to my heart. But yeah, I grew up on a lot of music, many different influences, and that's I think it's good to have different influences and make your own thing out of it. That's what bands used to do in the past, but before there were these genres or categories, before they came out with all this heavy metal and the music business, of course, record companies love marketing things, packages, the latest thing, the grunge, yeah, buy this. But in the past, bands had more personality and it was more fun because we were making music for sake, not for the business.
Yeah. And I mean, you brought up those packages just now, and how record companies put packages together. And I mean, the saying is imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And you were, I mean, going back to the influence you had on that amazing LA Sunset Strip of all those bands that came out of there, you are the one that is given the credit for making everyone who they are. I mean, from reading all different books and from people. And as an artist, how do you feel about how did you feel about it at the time, and how do you feel about it 40 years later?
Well, all kinds of admiration, of course, flattering and imitation, like you said. But uh, I think mostly was more about the big hairdos and posing and the partying. A lot of those bands were into that more than music, and that kind of didn't sit well with me. I, I took rock and roll more serious. I don't think it was about being wild and crazy, sex, drugs, rock and roll, all kind of cliche. And a lot of those bands are playing their hairspray that's better than the instrument, like I always say. So me, I didn't want to be associated with that too much because, it, but then there were good bands too from that time period. And thank God for Guns N' Roses. They were like had the punk attitude. And they were influenced by Hanoi in some ways, but they had their own thing and totally uh, deserve to be as big as they are. I'm glad they're as big as they are because they're a great rock band. Had attitude that we had. Which a lot of the bands kind of missed the point with these other bands, but there was some good stuff out of it too. And but I didn't want to be blamed for all that. There's a lot of phony stuff there, that, people, and besides the fact that some people thought I'd be copying these bands who were copying me. Just tried to do the hairdo and all that stuff, you know. And it was just my style. It was just funny. But then again, that was another thing again. They came up with glam rock, and then everybody tries to be that, and then it's boring because everyone looks the same, sounds the same. But there's some stuff that came out of it, and it's flattering, of course, to be done.
And I look at it this way: from those bands who try to maybe imitate you, what you were doing, but my big thing is you're 60 years old and I've watched live performances and listened to your new album, and you have something that a lot of those bands don't have, and that's still your voice. And it's still a kick-ass voice, and you still kill and rock. And I guess that comes down to not being a part of, that fakeness and partying and being in it for the right thing, which is the music in the end.
Yeah, I'm not jumping on a bandwagon.
How do you keep your voice as good as it is at 60 years old to still put out bangers of albums?
Well, I always strive for greatness, try to be better at what I do, and strive for perfection, which I'll never achieve, luckily, because that keeps me hungry. And there's always room for improvement. So I just try to get better, and I never get complacent. I never think that, okay, I'm good enough. I don't have to try anymore. I always try as hard as I can to do better and make better albums and do a better live performance and sing better and challenge myself to improve and to develop myself. So I never stop doing that. That's the way I think about it. And, like in the 80s, people say, what were your highlights? I was just a kid. There's so much to learn. And, I think like now I'm starting to get there, where it's really getting better and better. So I just always keep myself hungry, always have that curiosity about life and excitement about things, a childlike kind of, wonderment, and keeps life interesting too.
Yeah. And I spoke earlier when we started about a big year that you're having, a re-release digitally, which of Demolition 23, which is, basically it was a side project of yours as a super group, if you will, when it comes to it. And how important was it to you to get Demolition 23 released digitally so new fans can find it? Because it only had it had a short limited run in 1994, and now it's being re-released and digitally so more people can find it, especially in the way that music is consumed nowadays. How important was it to you to get that out there that way?
Well, that was very important because it's one of my favorite albums from the past. I mean, it was supposed to be my solo album originally, and then during the process, we decided to call it a band. Sammy Alpha came up with the name Demolition 23, and I thought, okay, cool. So let's have it be a band. But that was one of the best albums in the past, in my opinion. Probably not faking it. I think that was one of the greatest ones. And it's been out of print for all these years. Since 1994, it came out. And it hasn't been out or vinyl. It never came out on vinyl either. So now it's out on CD, vinyl, and so in every format, and with the new cover and everything. So yeah, it was really important. I've been talking about it to little Steven for decades now, and now finally came the time. So I'm really happy that it's out and available. It's an important record. And it came out about a year before all this stuff like Green Day and those bands started happening. And, I mean, Steven, who produced it, he tried to shop a deal for it back in the day, and then labels just said like, "Oh, punk is dead," even though this was more than punk. It was like really authentic rock and roll, punky actually. All the labels say, "Oh, punk is dead," And then half a year later, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is it, this is it." so, it's interesting. Always being ahead of right place at the wrong time, or ahead of my time, even with Hanoi Rocks.
And it's does that ever get frustrating with the music you create, and you have always been, and it seems like that half a year away, like you were always ahead of that curve, and then that curve, someone else took that road in front of you. There's that fork in the road, and people are saying, no, no, no. And then that next thing that comes up behind you, that's what takes off. I mean, what are your feelings on that? As someone who, for me, you should be just a household name like Guns N' Roses. You can say Guns N' Roses to anybody and they know who it is. Hanoi Rocks, I have to explain to people. Like I go back and I do this and I show them my first tape.
Wow. Cool. What do you say?
Explain to them and say, no, this is, these are the pioneers. And unfortunately, the pioneers sometimes don't get the accolades they deserve.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it often is. And, I'm not bitter or frustrated. It's more like amusing, maybe. It's just, that's the way life goes. And a lot of the time, and a lot of my favorite bands are not household names, but then some of them are, like Cheap Trick and, and of course the Stones and the early ACD and all that, the Motorhead. But, that's the way it is. Sometimes the best music is not the most selling music. And a big amount of people, mainstream, I would never be a mainstream pop star anyway. So it's kind of like, there came a point where I had disagreement with the record label about this commercial post that I'm not faking the album, but they were advertising me as the brains behind Hanoi Rocks. And I said, Hanoi Rocks had no brains. So please pull this commercial off the air. And, I thought they were going to make a new one, but then they pulled the plug and let the whole record die. Now, of course, my demands to help it. But I decided, okay, fine. That's the way it is. Then I'll be more of a rarity. Either do it on my own terms or not at all. So they said, after sell millions of records, then you can make demands like that. Okay, fine. I'll just be more of a rarity and just to stick to my principles, and that's the way it goes. And that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and I mean, you're working on something to bring a lot of things to light, which I'm extremely excited for because I'm a huge documentary watcher, especially of artists that I love. And I know you're working on a documentary. You're recently just here last week, I think, over here in New York.
Yeah.
Working on it. And how important is it to you to get this out and shine a light and show everybody who you are and what you're all about?
It's really important, especially since I got this guy, Pete Eklund, who's got a great vision to be the director and the main guy there. He has a great vision about it, and he's been like, not making it easy on me. There's been some moments where I really had to like ponder and go over some past stuff, and a lot of things that happened as we've been making a documentary, like real situations that really had a lot to it. And then again, the 60th birthday bash concert too. Making the documentary, filming has had something to do with the reformation, the reunion of Hanoi, original line of Hanoi, and this whole thing with me with Danny McCoy for the first time in 12 years. Because he was interviewed for it too, and it's close to me. And a lot of stuff has happened like as we've been making it too. So it's even better than I expected. And it's not like your regular rock and roll story of the usual stereotype of rock star and big cliches and stuff. It's really a very different story, which it is anyway. But the documentary, I'm sure it's going to be very interesting to people who are not necessarily into rock and roll, or me. That's the kind of movie it's going to be. So I think I have a real good feeling about it. It's going to be a very good movie.
Well, I'm very excited for it. And I think that's the important part when it comes to documentaries is you don't necessarily have to be a fan or know who it is, because I'm one of those people that I've watched documentaries on bands that I've never heard of or never really cared for or liked. And then I watch it. And the first thing I do after I'm done watching it is I go and listen to every single thing that was ever recorded by that artist. And it renews that that feeling of, well, maybe I was the one that was wrong for not liking something because I didn't understand, and become closer to that person's life. And that's, I fall in love with the person or the artist more so than I did with the music, and it made me appreciate and love their music more. So it's important.
That's great. It's cool that you're keeping an open mind like that. That's always mind works better like that, like a parachute when it's open. But yeah, and there's like other documentaries about like Diego Maradona, the football player. Even if you're not in football, it's a fascinating story. And that Formula driver, Senna.
Senna, yeah, that was a great documentary. I never knew anything about him. I watched it, and it was amazing.
Same here. Yeah, that's what documentary is. Documentary. Get into it, even if you're not into the subject. It's really cool. I think that's the kind of, it's more like the kind of movie it's going to be. So it's just we have so much fake materials that I don't know how we're gonna leave out. What we're gonna leave out is gonna be probably one of the main issues here.
And it must be hard bringing up, especially when you're documenting your life's work, really, and looking back on, the good times and the bad times, and bringing up those memories have to be hard to relive and be honest and open about them, especially, you had some major losses in your life.
Yeah. There's actually a very touching thing when you're remembering wrestle with my mother, and it's just touch. You get really emotional. She remembered what a nice kid he was, and how young he was, and how young he died. She really gets like emotional about it. There's a touching moment there, and some other moments were really real. So yeah, it's of course, and no matter what it takes, I'm totally open to. I mean, going over old stuff, part of my life. But yeah, in the end, there's a happy ending, so to speak. I mean, I'm still here, and I'm still feeling good and happy to be alive, and feeling better than ever, actually.
Well, listen, we're happy you're here and doing better than ever, because you are a true legend of the game. So, we appreciate you still doing what you're doing and putting out music. And speaking of that new album, if you were to play one song for someone that doesn't know who you are off of this new album, what song would you play for them first?
Wow. I guess maybe the first one, Murder, the Summer of Love. I think is a good representation. And there's a reason that it's the first song. I guess that one, yeah. We were working on it. We got next video is going to be Derelict Palace, which is one of my favorites. And it's going to be, yeah, and the video is really cool. We found this place that's totally perfect for it. And that's finished it today, actually. I don't know when it's going to be released, but and the next one after that is going to be LA Too Fast to Die Young.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite songs off the album is Antisocialite, and I don't know, but it hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like, it was so profound and beautiful. After listening to like All Fighter, which is just a kick-ass punk song, and then Antisocialite, it's just such a great song, and to still be 60 and capturing the feelings and being able to create music that is relevant today. Some people find their formula in music and stick to it and say, this is what I'm going to do because this is our band and this is what everybody knows that I do. But you constantly take on challenges and create music that a 12-year-old punk kid coming up can listen to and get into. I mean, how does your mind work to be able to do that and stay to the times?
I don't know. I just go for it and try to do my best. The song like Antisocialite, there's a danger of it becoming pompous kind of, a power ballad. We were really wary of that. We wanted to keep it small and simple, and kind of used John Lennon's Imagine as a blueprint for the production, and keep very small and no unnecessary drum fills and no big pounding things, and not a guitar solo. If somebody's riding on a dolphin on a wave or in Grand Canyon, And actually, I've had done like a demo piano on that. And then we had this guy who gets on the album on the piano, Lenny Kalataipa. He's a real fantastic piano player, and he played the piano on it. And then I had done a guy like yeah, the first vocal that I did was that one. That was the most demanding one. And then I had a private event gig one night, a couple hours outside Helsinki from the studio, and then I came back and I didn't have much sleep. I slept maybe 2.5 hours, but I had a feeling I wanted to sing the song again. And everyone did it there, and Rich Jones were in the studio. That's great, the vocal's great. What are you talking about? Well, let me just give it a shot. With the tired voice, just perfectly, not too tired, but 2.5 hours sleep. I did a take, and it sounds great. I told you, come on, let me do it again. I re-sang the whole song with the 2.5 hours sleep, and that's the vocals that's on the record. It's one of my favorite vocals. But sometimes sleep deprivation helps. You can't plan on it though. It just happened to me. So I'm really happy about that. It's one of my favorite songs to do.
Well, I absolutely love it. So, I mean, it's just
cool.
Fantastic. And, I don't want to keep you very long. I know you're extremely busy today with all your stuff and you're constantly creating music. And I don't want to take you away from that 1 hour of you creating music.
Well, I'm not necessarily creating music now, but it's great talking to you. I mean, really appreciate this. And I just did another interview coming up in 15, I think. Yeah.
So my last thing I'm going to ask before we go, we do a thing here. It's called our weekly threes. It's 3 things that you're listening to right now that you'd like people to check out. If there's any music that you're listening to that you would suggest to somebody to listen to right now, could be new, could be old.
New or old, yeah. Well, the new Cheap Trick album, right? The newest. In Another World, it's called, right? Then this came so fast. One of my all-time favorite albums is Little Feat, Failing Shoes. That's a great album. That is really a great album. It's from 1972, and the producer is Ted Templeman, who produced Van Halen later on. And the second song, Cold, 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 has some of the coolest drum sounds. I mean, I think even the John Bonham tails next to that. They're 200-bit flow, but they're really powerful. I used them as reference in my studio when I did it. Another one of my favorite albums, actually, Ian Hunter's first solo album, Ian Hunter. That's a great record. Well, maybe I should say my new record, The Best Diana. Check out that one too.
Yeah, I'll push that as much as I can.
Okay. Well, those 3 are the first. Oh, cool.
One of my threes is, I don't know if you know this.
Where'd you go?
Pato.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Pato. What is that?
From 1970. It's a British band. It's just one of the most amazing rock albums of all time. That is an unsung hero of music, kind of as I feel you are. And that's, something that I'd like to push going back to, it's from 1970, but it is an album that is timeless.
Wow. I got to check it out. Is the name of the album is Pato too?
Yeah, that's the name of the album as well. Yeah. Patto. Yeah. It's just a great rock and roll album from 1970.
I'll write this down. My memory is so full. Great, man. Thanks for the tip. I'll check it out.
Yeah, but again, I want to say thank you so much for being here. This was absolutely awesome. So
thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Great talking to you. Thanks to all the listeners.
Thank you, Michael. Take care.
You know what time it is, everyone. It's time to go out, listen to Hanoi Rocks, Demolition 23, and Michael Monroe's solo stuff, and have a great fucking time.
Draw the blinds to black and shut the day out. When it feels like there's no other way out, I'm gonna lead myself astray, I don't care. Stop the universe, we're heading nowhere. Close the day away and draw the night in. Sometimes everything can feel so frightening. I'm gonna lead myself astray, I don't care. Stop the train because it's heading nowhere. And I feel it tonight, like the king of nothing, the face behind the photograph, an anti-socialite, here am I. Static crackles into outer spaces, the sound of days gone by, forgotten faces. I'm gonna lead myself astray, I don't care. Down the road, you know the future's endless. And I feel it tonight, like I'm made of something, the face behind the photograph, an anti-socialite. Yeah, I feel it alright, but it don't mean nothing, it makes me wanna draw inside, an anti-socialite here tonight. And I feel it tonight, like the king of nothing, the face behind the photograph, an anti-socialite. Yeah, I feel it alright, like I'm made of something, and maybe there's some kind of light for an anti-socialite, an anti-socialite, when nothing feels alright here tonight. I'm feeling post-apocalyptic, like a monkey with a boomstick.
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.